Welcome back to my ultimate guide to Wrocław. So this is part 4. If you haven't seen parts 1 through 3, I would suggest you check those out ahead of this one, or else you might spot some glaring misses. But in this part, we are going to return back to, let's say, the centre of Wrocław. There's an awful lot to see in this city, and hopefully I've included basically all of the good stuff. So this section is going to focus very much on some of the remaining museums, of course, the university, the 4 Denominations district, and we're going to have a focus on food and drink, so you have an idea of where to go. So I hope you enjoy. Please stay tuned until after the credits. It should be a nice special for you. Dzień dobry and welcome to A Brit in Poland. This channel is going to bring you everything you need to know about Poland. I am exploring the country, bringing you the history, trying to tell you about the culture and show you what it is really like to live here. So feel free to check out my other media, Instagram, Facebook, and I will share links to those in the comments. I also have a website, www.britlivinginpoland.com, where I collate my videos for easy to view manner. Also, you are welcome to contribute to my efforts through Patronite or Patreon, and all descriptions are available below the video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and please come back for more by subscribing, liking, or commenting. Thank you very much. Do zobaczenia. A big thank you again to my contributors. The money I get, I don't ask for much, really helps to keep this channel going. So we're going to start with the University of Wrocław. There are a lot of buildings, a lot of campuses dotted throughout the city, but we're going to focus on the, let's say, the main building for tourists. And a bit of background. So there are actually about 150,000 full-time students living in Wrocław, making it the 3rd largest university in Poland. The main university, which we're going to today, was established in 1702 and is the main place you can go as a tourist to actually see a university building. But this is something a bit different. As you'll see inside, you have a lovely decorated door to greet you, and it really is a very beautiful place. So immediately from the inside, you're getting an impression of just what it's like. There are several rooms you can visit, though you kind of have to pay almost per room or pick a set of rooms. So our tour focused on a couple of places. So the first place is the Leopoldina Aula. So this is the main hall of the university building, established in 1728 to 1732 in honor of Roman Emperor Leopold I, who was the founder of the university. The room itself is mainly used as an attraction, and it's also used for some large ceremonies such as matriculation. The frescoes you see were designed by Johann Christoph Handke, who was a Baroque painter. And we're going to go upstairs to the mathematical tower. So this tower, as you can see, is kind of a museum dedicated to astronomical tools, some old maps and prints. And it's about 100 steps to get to the top of this. And as well as being a pretty cool museum, you've also got a viewing platform at the top. So you see the slightly more modern staircase here. And it actually is like a height of 50 meters. You see the cool globe at the top. And it gives you a really nice view of the city because it's pretty central, in terms of the layout of the city. So you get one of the best views, I would say, of the kind of the old town. And so, that makes it kind of worthwhile going to this place alone, if you ask me. I always like a good view. You have, as I say, a number of buildings. I think this one was a library. I might be wrong. I'm sure the guide said it was a library. And it had its own dwarf inside with books, which kind of further cements this. Next, we are going to go to the Royal Palace. So this building actually originated in 1710. And it was home to the Prussian kings from the dynasty of Hohenzollern. Perhaps that will mean something to somebody. The initiator of the construction was Baron Hans Ernst von Pein und Weckmar. That was my German. And it was actually known as the Royal Palace from 1750, when it was purchased by King Frederick II of Prussia. These days, it basically houses the City Museum, which captures the history of Lower Silesia for the last 2,000 years. So you have a whole series of exhibits, lots to see. The building actually was mainly burned down during the war. So in 1945, there wasn't actually that much left. And there was a large reconstruction project to restore the palace. And as you can see, they've done quite a good job. It takes maybe about an hour or so to walk around, depending on your speed. Some people did it in 10 minutes. I guess it all depends on how interested you are in history. I would say there was a lot to see, but I didn't feel like I learned a lot, which was a bit surprising. Like, there are lots of exhibits, but perhaps not always like that many explanations behind them. So for me, it felt more like a gallery in place than a museum. But it does take you through a journey through the ages. And each room does kind of move on a century or so. So you do get that, impression of the passage of time. And I'm glad I went, I'm a museum person. So, of course, I enjoyed this. And it's always good to kind of soak up the atmosphere of, the history of a city, really. So now we're going to enter the Four Denominations district, starting with the Church of Divine Providence, which was built in the 18th century. And it's actually right next to the Royal Palace. Sadly, I couldn't get inside, though. I think this is the old library for the university, but I'm not sure. Now, this crystal planet sculpture is basically a beautiful and meaningful symbol of unity in a multicultural world. And it's at the heart of the Four Denominations area. The Polish Orthodox Church, 16th century. There's a slight story where the clock was always 15 minutes late, so the church bells wouldn't overlap with the other bells going. And Polish women would time the cooking of pierogi to these bells. And it's called the Four Denominations district because there are basically four major churches of four different faiths. So we'll cover them all. But first, we're going to go down this kind of alley. And I really need to come back and see this at night because this is an alley full of old neon signs. It all started with a little private collection in 2005 and by Tomasz Koszmalski. And he wanted to rescue a neon sign from a pastry shop. So the next church is Roman Catholic Church of St. Anthony of Padua. And this is from the 17th century. And you can see there's a lot of kind of Gothic architecture at play. A lot of very nice paintings. Definitely worth popping in. I had to wait for Mass to finish before I could go inside. This is the White Stork Synagogue from 1829. And it's actually the only synagogue that survived. And it survived but for the very pragmatic reason that they were worried the buildings next to it would burn down if they burned down this one. So interesting reason for a building to be spared. And it's kind of a temple to Jewish history. There's some exhibits about that there. But on a whole, the four denominations districts, rather than just being this kind of cultural centre, is actually a very vibrant, very active part of the city. So it is absolutely full of restaurants, bars, there are some nightclubs, there are hotels. So it's kind of one of the main areas of the city for your active person, somebody who wants to socialise, take in some interesting architecture, and really just chill and relax and enjoy yourself. I stopped for a craft beer. I have to admit, if when I make it next back to Wrocław, I'm probably going to spend more time in this district and maybe sample a few different bars and restaurants just to get the feel. We're going to dip outside of the centre for a little bit and cross this rather cool-looking monument on one of the bridges heading out. And we're going to go to the Games and Computers Museum. Now, I love all this sort of stuff, so I had to see this museum. It's actually a fan-made project, so it's maybe not what you would call like an official government-sponsored thing. And it really does capture computers and computer games, from the earliest eras to the modern day. So you get to play on a lot of old consoles, play a lot of games. And interestingly enough, in Poland, they mainly had something called the Pegasus. Now, Wrocław is a beautiful place and made even more beautiful by art everywhere you look. So we covered the Dodger district in the first video, or the second video, I think. But here you get so many examples of different statues and murals dotted throughout the city. So this section of the video is going to focus a little bit more on some of the art in Wrocław. I know I've covered things like the Contemporary Art Museum I think that was the second video. But there are a few places that I want to take you that I think are worth your visit. And you really have to just walk around Wrocław to see so much of this. As you can see, there's just like everywhere you have something. But the first proper place we're going to go is the Contemporary Museum. Now, I had to come here purely for this sculpture of a train rising out of the ground. It was like something out of some crazy computer game or something. But the Contemporary Museum itself was established in 2011, and it develops relations with contemporary artists by exhibitions and educational events, and constantly expanding its art collection. There are a lot of very interesting exhibits here. I'm not an expert on contemporary art. Some of it was a bit mind-blowing. Some of it was like, I don't know about art. Is this art? But it was really cool to just walk around. Like, it's an experience walking around this place. And there's a lot of variety, a lot of interesting installations, a lot of massive creativity. And it was just fun. And at the top you have like this kind of cafe with a rooftop terrace. So perhaps not the most amazing view of Wrocław, but it's nice to have something to look at while you're enjoying a beer. Next, we're going to go to the National Museum. So the museum itself was established in 1947 and opened to the public in 1948. But back then it was kind of like a regional museum, and it was only promoted to a national museum in 1970. The building itself actually dates back to 1883, and it was designed to be like a German palace from the 16th century. And inside are over 200,000 objects representing all fields of art, starting from medieval Silesian stone and wooden sculptures. There's Polish and European paintings, modern and modernist sculpture, drawings, graphics, very rich collections of artistic crafts of past eras, from antiquity through the Middle Ages to the beginning of the 20th century. And it's pretty big. I think there were about 3 floors to explore. And, it has paintings going back to, I think, like the 12th, 13th century, like some of the, the most important works in there. And it was very interesting. There was this kind of exhibit about China. I don't know if that was like a permanent thing or a temporary thing, but it was pretty cool. And I loved this, kind of very interesting art at the end. Next, we have the Architectural Museum, and this is actually located in a 15th century Bernardine set of buildings, including the St. Bernardine of Siena Church, and it has a monastic quadrangle with a garden. The museum itself opened in 1965, and it basically concerns, funnily enough, the evolution of architecture. So you have some cool exhibits about like stained glass windows, as you can see here, a lot of kind of decorations of buildings. There was this really cool area showing these sculptures of some of the more modern structures that you see around Poland. So it actually can give you a few ideas on places to go. So the next section, we're going to look a little bit more at food and drink. And we're going to start at Hala Shotski. And so this is a large market hall. And this was actually built in 1908, 1909. And it was designed by a famous architect of the time, Richard Pluderman. It actually has 4 floors. This surprised me because I saw 2 when I was there. But apparently there are 2 large basements that I completely missed. Which, is sad. I always hate to go into places and missing stuff. And it is like a classic Polish market hall. So there are lots of places to buy food, tea, coffee, flowers, trinkets, vegetables, all kinds of, interesting things. So it's a nice historical place to walk around, do a little bit of shopping. We had some Turkish coffee there, I think, which was very nice. I'm not really a coffee person, but this had a lot of deep, rich flavor. So next you've got Hala Shotski, and this is actually located in an old train station dating back to 1842, so one of the first train stations in Wrocław. Much like the Halas you get in Warsaw, which I still need to do a series on, by the way. It is like a whole set of different food outlets, and you have a few bars in there as well. I personally went to this whiskey pub, which was just outside because I don't know, I felt like a quiet drink, and I do enjoy a nice cocktail. So I had a couple of let's say classically made cocktails there. The Broast Stu is a place that I was recommended by my hotel. And there are 2 outlets. So this is the one in the center, I think on Świdnica Street. They had a nice range of craft beers. Though I kind of made the mistake of going to this outlet first, and this is the actual brewery, which is quite away from the center. And I was wondering, I seem to be traveling quite a far way by tram to get here. And I was like, I went to the wrong one. But I'm glad I went to this one because, fresh beer from the brewery. Again, lovely beer and some great flavors in here. I did get some food here. It's very tasty, very well cooked, very expensive as well. But I'm glad I kind of took the time out. And I'm just having a small section for a few other bars that I was able to visit. I mean, Wrocław's a big place, and it's kind of hard to, unless you live there, to really recommend the best bars and things like that. So I'm just giving you a taste of some of the places that I've seen over my travels. This particular place is like an old monastery, and we came here for food and drink as a group. Very good food, by the way. And I think it is just called the old monastery. And this was us downstairs in the kind of bar area. I think a couple of the lads were trying to chat up some 18-year-old students from, what I remember, which was quite amusing to see. We went to some random nightclub that, at first glance, we thought isn't a strip club. You have Cyber Machina, so this is one of my favourite chains of bars in Poland. So I had to, of course, visit the Wrocław one. So this is it's a place for people who like computer games or board games. They have a lot of lovely cocktails. And it's something a little bit different, like the decor in these places alone. It speaks to the inner geek in me. There was also this other bar, I can't remember the name of it, but it was very artistic. I just discovered it while, wandering around. It was kind of along the riverside. It had this cool UFO thing, a very artistic place. Everywhere you looked, there was some little thing, some random statue or sculpture or interesting painting. It even had a kind of lighthouse. I'm not sure functioning, but again, it was pretty cool. Tequilania is a rather unique place in the center. So I had a couple of cocktails here. And it's kind of like Mexican style food, so very tasty food as well. This place I think is meant to be the best donuts or pączki in Wrocław, as recommended by our tour guide that we had. And okay, so I've done 4 videos now on Wrocław, and I tried to break it up, because I knew if I was to make one big video, it was going to be like an hour. And I think even with the 4 videos, it's kind of gone over an hour. If you take away credits and things, blah, 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 it's not so bad. So these are just some of the shots of some of the green areas and maybe some of the parts of the city, which I didn't really detail, but I, just wanted you to see what there is to see. I think this is Słodowa Island, which is the only place in Wrocław that you can technically drink outdoors with your own alcohol. So it's quite a popular place in the summer. So it's always nice to have that option. In Warsaw, we have the river. Here, they have an island. So wanted to make sure I included that. But so I'm hoping that through this video series, I've kind of covered, let's say, the main things to see in Wrocław. I very much welcome any comments, any recommendations from locals or people who have visited of things that I may have missed. Because for sure, I want to go back to this city. I love Wrocław. And I would love to have some ideas for places to go that you would recommend if you think I have missed something key. But thank you very much if you've stuck with me for this series. It was a real pleasure to constantly keep going back to Wrocław after realising I missed footage on that, hadn't seen that. I need to do better planning. But it is really an awesome place to go. And one, my next target is to hopefully go there for the Christmas market. But we'll see how the finances are looking after buying Christmas presents for the family. But yes, as you see, everywhere you go, there are so many cool monuments, like the little dwarves, the artwork, the museums, everything in this city just screams culture. So I really hope you enjoyed this journey. So again, if you like the video, please like. If you are enjoying the channel, please subscribe, and feel free to tell your friends about it, because I care a lot about Poland, and I want you to as well.